Hi there, Joe DiSanto here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to properly enter your paycheck into Quicken. I'm going to show you how to journal in your gross pay and your taxes so that the actual reality of your paycheck is properly reflected in your reporting. So hopefully it's helpful. I will see you in the video. Thanks. I'm Joe DiSanto, by the way. I'm an independent CFO and business consultant. I actually spent most of my career in Los Angeles building a few multi-million-dollar businesses, and I've since semi-retired, and now I help other businesses and individuals manage their money and plan better for their future. So if you're interested in small business, personal finance, and real estate advice, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Okay, thanks for joining me. So in this tutorial, as I mentioned, we're going to look at how to enter your paycheck into Quicken. So what I have here, I got one of my tutorial files set up. This file actually is created off the template file that I actually sell in a course called the Financial Independence Roadmap. In my template file, there's actually a video on the template file on how to set it up, but the value of the template file is mainly my category list. Basically, if you just create a new file of Quicken, it's going to give you a basic list of categories. It's got probably most of the categories you need, but it's not organized in a way that delivers good reporting. So I have this template file you can start out with, which gives you categories organized in the way that I like and that relates to my budget and stuff that I have on my website, so everything kind of lines up. I point this out because we're going to be using the categories to set up the paycheck so it all reports out correctly and displays correctly, but your report won't look like this unless you have organized your categories like this. So if you're new to Quicken, you can go look at my overview of reports video, and that would explain a little bit of that. But anyway, I downloaded this mock pay stub here online, and here's the thing about the paychecks, that I feel like people don't always sort of understand. So your and this is a W-2 paycheck, meaning you're an employee, quote unquote, at a company. They pay you a gross amount of money, and then they hold back taxes, and then they send those taxes into the state and IRS agencies on your behalf, and those taxes sort of go into your tax holding account, and then at the end of the year when you file your tax return and it's established exactly how much you owe in taxes based on your finalized income, they will say to you, hey, you sent in this much money, it was actually more than we needed, we're going to give you a refund. Or sometimes they say, hey, you sent in this much money over the course of last year, but it wasn't enough. Now you actually have to give us some additional money to cover your tax bill. But what happens there is the company is paying you your gross salary, whatever that may be. As I said, they're deducting the taxes, sending them on to the agency, and then they give you the difference, or the net pay. So what's going to generally happen is the net pay will deposit into your bank account, and then that transaction will download into your checking account register as a transaction. It'll probably, whatever I use Gusto for payroll, so if your employer used Gusto, it'd probably be like Gusto payroll something or other, and it'd just be your net paycheck amount. So in this case here, on this paycheck, this person gets paid $4,000 per pay period. I don't know what their pay periods are, May 15th to May. Yes, well, this is just a fake one, but $4,000 per pay period. And then it shows year to date, and then it shows the withholdings that the company is sending in on your behalf. It also shows some of the taxes that the employer pays. And then it shows the net pay for the pay period, and then usually they have the year-to-date, sum totals. So in this case, for this paycheck, you would get a direct deposit generally. Some people get checks still, I suppose, for the net pay. Okay, and it would pop into, let's just say, your personal checking account. By the way, so this is my template file, but I've added a bunch of like just accounts here for demonstration purposes on the left. I'm also going to customize this a little bit. So let's just say you get your paycheck direct deposit, okay? The net pay you're going to get is whatever it is, okay? And that's going to come into your downloads. You know, obviously if you have a connected account, it's going to come into the little download area first and you can accept it. And if you just accept it as is, oh, I spelled paycheck wrong, and hit enter without a category, you know, it would be uncategorized, okay? Some people though, you know, they might say, oh, that's the money I made, so that's my income. Okay, so I use this category W-2 income for income, right? And if you then did a report for that, let's just say my reports here. Okay, so if you pull a report, basically your income, you know, is going to be $3,050.46, right? And if you don't do what we call like a journal entry of sorts on the paycheck. But the problem is that's not accurate. Like one, you actually made more money than that. You made $4,000. And two, you paid some taxes through this paycheck process. So we want to reflect all the things that have happened there when you get your paycheck, not just record the net result as income, because it's not an accurate, you know, representation of what's happened. So the question is, how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is click this little down arrow, and then we're going to do a split entry, okay, or a split transaction. So when you know, if you use QuickBooks or happen to be in that kind of bookkeeping, you can do split transactions in QuickBooks as well. To some degree, there's another accounting term in, you know, data entry functionality in business bookkeeping called journal entries. And journal entries are like these completely separate transactions you make that allow you to move money from one account to another. You know, and essentially when you do a journal entry, you're doing a version of a split transaction. So to some degree, we will call, people often refer to this process of breaking down like a paycheck, for example, as journaling, where you're going to put in the detail of what's happened. So here we now have multiple lines to use for categories, okay? So it's going to have our first line in there like this already. So W-2 income, we know it's not $3,050. We know that's our net income. Our full gross income is $4,000. So if we put $4,000 here, and I arrow key down, you could click the next thing. What's going to happen is the split box is going to say, hey, the transaction itself is only $3,050. So if now you've changed this categorization here of income to $4,000, you now have $949.54 to account for so that this transaction remains in balance to the actual credit, you know, that happened in the checking account. So the next question is, okay, well, what happened to that $949? And the answer is, well, it was sent to the IRS and your state in terms, you know, to prepay your taxes, essentially. It was sent there on your behalf. But ultimately what you did with that money was pay taxes. And ultimately what you're doing is you're paying taxes in advance for the year you're in. Like your taxes aren't entirely, I mean, I guess it depends, and it's debatable, but technically your taxes aren't due until April 15th of the following year. So you're paying money in advance. And essentially that tax money will eventually get, you know, reconciled against what you actually owe in tax. So here we're told what we've paid in advance. So we paid $339.54 to the Fed. So I have a bunch of tax categories set up in my file, and there's probably some tax category in the standard Quicken file. But I have federal taxes, state taxes, and what I call payroll taxes, or FICA, Medicare, unemployment insurance. So we paid $339.54 in federal tax. Okay. Now I arrow down again, and it says, okay, well, great, thanks. But now you still have $610 to account for. Okay. So we go on down the road. We paid $248 in Social Security. So I have, again, as I said, FICA, Medicare, unemployment insurance in here. So now I'm going to do minus 248. Keep going. Okay, now it says you have 362 to account for. Medicare was 58. Now it says you have 304 to account for. State withholding was 264. And now it leaves $40 left over. Now, of course, I didn't do this in advance of this video, and for whatever reason, the $40 here is not represented. They have a list here for employer taxes of $1 and $1 for FUTA and SUTA. So that's what your employer pays on your behalf. So I'm going to take a guess here. Like here, most payroll taxes are FICA or Social Security. I forget. I think this is called like Federal Insurance Something Act. Medicare is Medicare, and UI is unemployment insurance. So most of the time, if you're in a state with taxes, the 5 lines of your tax withholding are going to be federal, state, Social Security, Medicare, unemployment insurance. So I'm just going to take a guess that this one is unemployment insurance. Now, I group FICA, Medicare, and unemployment insurance into just one tax group. You could have a category for each. I just put them in one and kind of call them payroll taxes. But if you wanted to like put a memo, like if you really want to be detailed, you could put a memo as to which they are, like that, okay? And so now what you've done is you've said to Quicken, hey, my gross pay is $4,000. This is what I paid in taxes, okay? You hit OK, hit Enter. And now, if you go to that report, we show that we have the proper reality of what that payroll check represents. $4,000 in gross income, and then this is the amount you sent in for taxes to the state agencies. Now, Social Security and Medicare go to the Fed. Unemployment insurance usually goes to the state for whatever that's worth. So now I'm going to add, the last part is, you might say to yourself, well, geez, that's like a lot of work to every time I get a paycheck, I got to like go in and do all that. So what we can do next is we can memorize your paycheck as a memorized transaction and tell Quicken to automatically drop it in your register like, you know, a few days before you expect your actual direct deposit to come through. And then when you do that, your automatic download deposit, it will see that you already have like an uncleared transaction in your register for that amount, and it'll just match up the download with your paycheck. Now, this works perfectly when your paycheck is exactly the same every pay period. Sometimes it is, and then I've found sometimes, you know, throughout the years, 1 week, you know, usually I get paid twice a month. You know, I've had regular jobs. Sometimes the paycheck, you know, is different by like a penny or two just because of the division into a penny, you know, it's like half. So when that happens, it's kind of annoying. In that case, you can make 2 memorized transactions and set one up to go on one pay period of the month, the other to go on another. Anyway, in order to do that, this is what we're going to do. Now, you can do that in the bills and income area, and this is where you essentially track memorize their automatic income and put in entries for that, or put in bills. So we can do it in here. We can go to income and transfers, and then we can add a memorized income. Now, the other way to do it is, I like to do this. I set up my own custom view here, and I go to dashboard. I go, let's see, main view, and I'm going to customize this. I get rid of what's in there, and I add bills and income reminders, okay, to my main view. And I like this because it shows, like bills and income shows income and transfers and bills like on separate windows. Over here, if you do it this way, you kind of get them all in one list, which I like. So I do it this way. As you can see, there is a mortgage payment reminder already in here under bills. We are going to add an income reminder. So add reminder income. Okay. We're going to call this Paycheck. Okay. And let's say we get paid on, the 1st and the 15th of the month. So we can change this to twice monthly, every 1st and 15th. No end date, start date February 1st. Okay. The account, this is the amount which will be the actual deposit. So in this case, it would be 3050.46. We're going to have it go into whatever account your direct deposit goes into. I will say personal checking. We're going to now add categories, and we're going to do this split here. Okay, and this is where we're going to enter the same information we just entered in the checking register there. Fed minus 339.54. State minus, actually I'll do it in the exact order that is on this paycheck. FICA is minus 248. Medicare minus 58. State minus 264. Last one we assume is unemployment insurance, even though it's not specifically stated on there. Hit OK. You could put a memo in here. You could call it, I don't know, semi-monthly paycheck if you want. You don't have to. And then over here, you can say, remind me 3 days in advance to enter, or you could change this and just say automatically enter maybe 5 days in advance. Okay, so that way you don't even have to do anything. Obviously, you can have it give you a reminder, and then you can go enter it yourself, or you can enter it just 5 days in advance. Now, FYI, if you don't have your file open for more than 5 days, and 10 days, and you only open it like 1 day before your paycheck, well, it's going to enter this transaction once it's in that 5 day or less window. Pretty much anytime you go and download and your paycheck net deposit's going to go through, this transaction should already be in the register and you should get a match. Let's see, anything else here? We hit done. Okay, actually, you know what happened is because it is January 27th and I said put it in 5 days in advance, it might have actually already put it in there. Let's see. Oh no, sorry, there it is. Let's see, I'm going to make this look out 30 days. Okay, so here it shows you an automatic input. It should put this in, like if I were to close this file out and reopen it, it would probably put it in. For whatever reason, it's just showing it as an auto enter here. It might, if I tinker around in the, through accounts and do other things, it might eventually just snap into place. But if it doesn't, you can just double click it and enter it yourself. And hit enter and it'll go in. And I'll show you what that looks like. So now it's entered it, and it's below the blue line, which means it's in the future. It's past today's date. It's already in here. See, it doesn't have any status on it. So what's going to happen is once that download comes through, it's going to see this and go, hey, I see a match. Are these the same things? And then you can accept the match, and it'll give this a cleared status. And then eventually, once you go and reconcile your accounts with your statement down the line, I'll do a video on reconciling, it would end up in a cleared status. So there you go. That's how to properly journal in, quote unquote, your paycheck and know that your reporting is accurately reflecting both your gross income and the taxes you have been paying throughout the year. And if you do this accurately throughout the year, when you get your W-2 at the end of the year, these numbers, that have tallied up in your reporting for the taxes you have sent in would match exactly what has been reported on your W-2. Now, I will talk about the lazier way to do this. If you don't want to deal with any journaling throughout the year, you can just let your net income be categorized as your income all year, and then when you get your W-2 at the end of the year, you could do one journal entry, independent journal entry, just to adjust all the amounts. But then you would only have accurate reporting on the day you put that journal entry in. So like probably that would be on December 31st, and then your reporting throughout the year would not reflect reality. That's not how I would do it, because I like my reporting to always reflect reality, but something to consider. So that's that. That's putting in your paycheck. I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.